Hello makers, welcome to the workshop. Around 6 months ago I quit my job to start a full-time workshop business, but this isn't one of those I made 6 figures in 6 months videos. This is real talk about what's actually happened since then. And there are ups, there are downs, there are full-on face plants, and I'll pull back the curtain on all of those things in this relatively short video to give you an idea of what's involved when you start an online workshop business. So, like many people, I found myself in a job that I really hated, and I decided to quit. But I didn't quit straight away. I decided to give myself 3 to 4 months to prepare, set the groundwork, for instance, before I told them to stick the job where the sun don't shine. That is quite a big stepping stone. Obviously I was quite well paid, and I'm then going into a business that isn't paid at all, and in fact it's going to take quite some time to get going and make any sort of decent money, even if it ever does. So as I say, I didn't just quit, I prepared, and what that involved was me learning tools, coming up with more products, which in my case are the designs of the French Cleat system that you can see behind me, and some other products, and building a website. They were the core things that I was doing in the 3 to 4 months that led up to me actually quitting. So what of those things worked and what didn't? Well, the biggest surprise to me really was the website. I've made websites for 20 years. I specialise in search engine optimization, SEO. So I didn't think it would be too difficult for me to build a relatively decent site and get it ranking on Google for quite a number of search terms, and that aspect was actually true. What surprised me the most was that ranking high up in Google search engine optimization, so I was showing up organically, wasn't actually helpful when it came to selling products. Before, the websites that I made were selling services, and that wasn't too difficult to rank for. But when it comes to products, even though I rank number 1 for quite a lot of terms, I can be in position 20 to 30 on the page, and that's because the page is swamped with Google ads, videos, images, out-of-date Reddit forums, and a whole host of other stuff. So I'm ranking number 1 in Google, but I'm 30th on the page, so nobody's finding me. Now, what I did come to note when I was looking at my search rankings was that Etsy was quite often at the top. Now, I hadn't planned on listing on Etsy, but I could see that if I wanted more exposure, that was probably what I was going to do. So I actually spent nearly a month creating my Etsy shop before I put it live. There's quite a lot to do there in the way of producing good quality graphics and copy. And even then, when Etsy went live, I did get some sales in the first month, maybe 5. It went quite well, but then things tailed off for a couple of months, and that was a concern. Which brings me in fact onto another aspect of starting your own business, which is a thing called the dip, which is, in fact, it's a book written by Seth Godin, and all businesses go through a dip. So you start with high energy levels, yeah, we're going to do this, I'm going to be successful, etc., etc., and then over the course of however long, maybe a month, maybe 3 months or more in some cases, you hit a dip, and that dip can be all sorts of things. Doubt starts creeping in. Maybe you're not getting the traffic or the views that you hoped for, you're not getting the sales that you expected, etc., etc. And it's only a short book, you can probably read it in a day. There's a positive side to the dip, is that's where most people give up. And so if you can work your way through that, you will come out the other side and you'll be at an advantage, because a lot of people have already given up on what you're trying to do. So I'd recommend, if you are starting a business, or even if you have started a business and you're struggling, get the dip. It's not an expensive book, as I say, it's not War and Peace, but it can help you. The other thing that I found positives and negatives for was YouTube. I decided that I was going to create a YouTube channel because, first of all, that could help me promote grow brand awareness of my products, and also I wanted to make workshop videos that would be helpful to people like you. What I found extremely difficult was talking to camera. Still find that quite difficult. Still learning the various techniques. I had to buy equipment, of course, lighting, a camera, some editing software, etc. But on the upside of YouTube, of course, is that you can learn all of these things and more by looking at the videos that are already there. So there is a trade-off. When you start, or if you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel, that's also heartbreaking at the beginning because you're spending time making videos and maybe less than 100 people are seeing them to begin with. Even when you get going, you're probably not going to get 1,000 views a video. Of course, you want to try and get monetization so that you can earn through YouTube. That took me about 4.5 or 5 months. In fact, the month before monetization, I got so many views, it was crazy. And I thought, here we go, this is great, I've broken through the algorithm. But once I got monetized, I'm struggling again to get really viral videos going. But I think that if I just carry on making genuine, authentic videos, then the traffic will come, views, people will watch. And in any case, I quite enjoy making the videos. Just so you know, I'm using a relatively cheap Sony camera, the V1F I think, and I'm using CapCut Pro to edit. The CapCut has a free version which is actually quite capable, but the Pro version I think is only costing me $9 a month, so it's not too bad and it can do quite a lot of stuff. So that's very positive. So back to Etsy. Things did tail off. I had a couple of very bad months where I only sold maybe 1 or 2 things, but the last month has been quite productive. Started getting some reviews, more sales. I'm still not at a sale a day, but I have had days where I've had more than 1 sale. At the moment I may be getting a sale every other day, but that's not too bad. It's a new business, not that many people have heard of me, of course, but that's all positive. I have very positive feedback from makers across the board, so that's all good stuff. Possibly the biggest lesson that I can share is that when you start a maker business or a workshop business, the making part is probably less than half of the business part. You spend your time creating content, doing social media, running the business itself, doing admin, blah blah blah, so there was a stage there where I probably went 8 or 10 weeks without making a single thing. So of course we have this dream that I'm going to create stuff. I'm not a fine furniture maker. That might be a different kettle of fish, but you are going to have to, a large chunk of your time is going to be spent trying to raise your profile and being found and raising brand awareness. That's what everything was about. If everybody knew my products, then I would sell a lot of products. And you have to work towards at least making some people aware of your products. Social media wise, I'm on Facebook, but it's a ghost town. I'm on Threads, which I actually quite like. That's a genuine good place to chat and share and ask for help and so on. I'm not on Twitter because, in my opinion, that's a bit of a cesspool of hate. I am on Instagram, but I'm not going to become famous on Instagram. I think those days have gone. If I was buying followers, maybe that would work. I don't know, but I'm not in a position to be spending much money on buying traffic or followers. YouTube for me has certainly been the best for product awareness and general go-to good feeling. Got over 1,500 subscribers now, a fair amount of chat and comment on quite a lot of videos, etc. So I think that's by far and most head and shoulders above the other channels, but it does take work and it is heartbreaking to begin with when you're getting no views. So what are the takeaways so far? Well, as they say in sports, in order to finish first you have to finish. And so that comes back with the dip and getting through those hard months, and then things hopefully will start to get a little bit better. I am trying and experimenting with things all the time. I use AI a hell of a lot. I am in effect a one-man band, but I use ChatGTP. Been using AI in various forms for quite a few years actually, and I'm not too bad at that, which is good because I've built a virtual marketing team that can help with social media posts, replying to comments, writing copy for the website and other places. I couldn't work without it. In fact, I'd be lost and I'd be back at month 3 probably if I didn't use AI. So I hugely recommend that you at least try and use some of it. Even if you haven't used AI yet, start playing around with it. It's actually free, a lot of platforms on the entry level, so it can help. It can give advice. If you've got 2 ideas, it will talk through which of those 2 you should probably pursue first, that sort of thing. Well, I hope you find this useful. I'm more than happy to do more videos like this, looking at the tools that I use in detail, and I've only mentioned a few of them of course, but if you'd like to know more about the tools that I use, etc., then drop a comment below. I answer every comment. I'm more than happy to assist in any way that I can for getting people out of that dead-end job and into a happier place, which is your workshop. So whether you're just a weekend warrior or somebody who's working full-time, please drop a comment below. Also, like and subscribe if you don't mind. It makes a huge difference to a small channel like mine. It helps with the algorithm and more people can see these videos, and hopefully we can help them too. Okay, as always, I've been Alan, you've been watching. I'll see you in the next video.